Hello guys, so we are on air right now. Welcome to yet another release meeting. This is the release 50, so-called the Docs Wheel. I will share my screen so we can go through the cards about the DOM items for this release. Okay, so from bottom to top, for this release, we had self-tests, add multiple levels of tests. This is related to the way we are executing the self-tests. We are introducing different levels, so we can have a different set of tests that will be executed in the Travis CI or during the RPM building process or even in our workstation. So if you are not a developer, you will be not affected by this directly, but if you are, please have a look in the documentation and self-test so you can adapt to these changes. But basically, if you are executing a make check full in your workstation, you keep doing that and you'll be fine. Next card, job time should be the wall clock time. This was a long-term card that needed a good number of pieces to be put together, so this would be possible. But the main point here is that we are considering now the total time of a job, not only the time taken for the task to be executed, but to everything to be executed. So for the user perspective, you might note a change in the UI. The test time line was removed, and now you see job time, which better represents what this information is about. Travis identify failure and re-enable test TMP dir test. This test was failing recurrently in Travis, and it was disabled before. And this card is about making sure that the issue that was causing this test to fail in Travis, making sure that that issue was gone, and we double checked it. It's indeed already fixed. So this check was re-enabled in Travis. Avocado Vert migrates on a nested KVM environment fails. This was an issue reported. The main point of this issue was if you are in a nested environment, like KVM nested environment, and try to run the migrate.py test from Avocado Vert, this test would fail, but it happens to be something local in the workstation of Kleber, which was the guy reporting these, and it could not be reproduced in a different environment, so it was closed as works for me. Inspector Py3 compatibility. This is a set of changes related to Python 3 support proposed to Inspector, and after this change, a new version of Inspector was released. So you can expect from Inspector more compatibility with Python 3. Create a resume option for the job replay feature after interruption. Well, we have the replay feature already, so you can recreate a job the same way it was originally created. But if something goes wrong with that job and you want to replay the original job from a certain point and not from the scratch, you will now have this new option. And I'd like to request Lukash to provide a demo on this. Please, Lukash.
Yeah, basically, for example, imagine you're running a sleep test with a bunch of different variants, and you can see that it's running. Now I use kill-9. Kill-9. I can't make it on time. Okay, so once again. Kill-9 avocado process. You can see it was destroyed ungracefully. And when I take a look at the results there, you can see that there are no results of JSON, which used to be used for reporting test statuses and replaying the job. But there is a results.tab, which is basically what we are using when results.json is not available. It does not contain all the results, which it does not contain the extended results, but it contains at least the list of tests which were executed, which failed or passed. And we can reuse this information to replay a job. So let's say I want to run this job, and it works well. It starts the job again. But now let's say that I already saw that there were a bunch of passes. The job already executed some of the tests. So I want to resume the job, not execute it again. So I can use replay resume, which skips the tests which were already executed and only executes the rest. Basically, the way it works, it's nothing new. It just basically adds another test status. And so basically, when the test is interrupted, it means it did not finish. And we can tag like that any test we want. So ever since the test does not has results, it's actually interrupted. So you can say that you want to replay tests which with status interrupted, which does the same as -- replay resume. And you can combine it with other statuses, like for example with pass, which means it will run both the tests which passed and which were not executed. Obviously, we are doing our best. On kernel crash, you may not have all the tests marked properly, but we are syncing the tab result after each result on disk. So hopefully you'll get most or 1 or 2 misses if you have really heavy loaded machine. Never mind. Keep if you may want this want to use this feature if you keep struggling with like crashing machines. It's super simple. Back to you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, even though this new option is kind of shortcut for replay test that's interrupted, but still we had a lot of work under the hood to synchronize the files and to use the results.tab as a fallback option for the new JSON. So we had a lot of stuff going on here. So we have this feature working, and also this is related to the next card, which was a different card created for the same feature, but to make sure that the job could be replayed even after an operating system crash. And to make it possible, we had to synchronize some files that are important for the replay to identify what was the original job and what was the results of the test in the original job, so it could be replayed even after that crash. So
basically now we force flush the results .tab and some other job data files to be able to recreate the job before we run the next test. So it should be up to date. Still, it's on the kernel panic. You may see 1 or 2 misses.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay, thank you, Lukasz. Next card. Support the docstring directives in test methods. This was mainly related to supporting tags inside the test methods. I will provide you a demonstration. Let me change the screen I'm sharing here. Okay, I have it prepared here. Left-hand side, I have two test classes called my class 1, my class 2. This is the previous behavior. We support tags inside the class docstring, and if you run that file, test method tags, you have 4 tests being executed. You can use the tags filter by tags to run only the tests tagged safe, and then you have only the tests from the first class. And now the new feature is that we also support these tags inside the test method. Fast, for example, and here is slow. So you can, if you run safe, it will execute both, but if you run safe and fast, it will get only the first one here. And of course, you can combine from different classes. So you are running tests that are tagged with fast. This is fast. This is fast. I should not have removed the class tag here, but anyway, I'm running only the fast test, and this proves that the docstrings with tags in test methods are being respected and used by Avocado. Let's get back to the travel board. Okay, so next card, rename Avocado multiplex to Avocado variants. The feature itself was renamed, but still the command Avocado multiplex was the same, and this card and the consequent pull request is renaming the command to Avocado variants. If you run Avocado multiplex right now, you'll see a deprecation message telling you to use Avocado variants instead. Next card, add a total count to Avocado multiplex. You might notice that the multiplex ID was changed in the previous release, so we don't have an incremental number to identify the variant. So it became harder to identify the number of variants that are being generated, because now we have a more user-friendly name, and we don't have a counter in the name. So the intention of this card was to expose the number of variants that are generated when the user executes Avocado multiplex or the new Avocado varianter in the first line of the list of the variants that are being generated. Increase test finish timeout. This is a condition when the test finishes, but still the process takes some time to finish. Avocado would not recognize the process as ended, would not wait for the process to end, and now the timeouts are increased, so the job will wait for up to 60 seconds for the process to finish when the process reports a good status back to the job. Next one, announce the LTS next schedule. An email was sent to Avocado devel list about the next LTS. It will be the next version 52. Right now we are releasing the version 50. We will be working in the version 51, and the next one, the 52, is expected to be the LTS release. So if you have any features that you want to see in the next LTS, this is probably your last chance. I mean, this sprint that is starting this week is your last chance to have something implemented for the next LTS. Since the next LTS will not allow us to introduce any features, it will be a sprint focus in bug fixes and stabilization and documentation. So heads up. And another important point about the LTS is that the new LTS will be supported again for about 18 months, but most important is that the last LTS, the 36, will be supported for 6 months after the release of the LTS version 52. So you have 6 months to migrate from the previous to the new LTS when it's released. Next card, rework, skip, cancel, test, mod class, and exceptions. This is pretty much internal change. What triggered this card was the fact that we now have the new cancel status. We are deprecating the self.skip feature from the test API. And the way that we were handling and dealing with exceptions internally had to be adapted, and this card is all about that, these internal improvements, but nothing will change if you are not using internal APIs, which you shouldn't, right? Separate test name and variant ID in HTML results. This is about the HTML report. I have an example here. Before, we had only the test ID here, which was only one string with the test UID, the test name, and the variant ID all together. And we split that in 3 different fields here. Now we have the variant in a different column, and the test name here and the UID here. The intention here is that you can now order the results by each of these fields separately. So you can order by variant, you can order by test name, you can order by UID. So you have more flexibility in this report. And also, as a bonus commit for this change, we introduced this tooltip, which is exposing the parameters that were available for that specific test. Those parameters are mostly coming from the variant itself, but not only from that. So they are all exposed here, all the parameters.
And you have to check it out because on your computer, because it's not visible in Hangouts.
I think it's a Hangouts issue. They are only sharing one window, so the tooltip is probably another window on top of that. I would guess.
Like, never mind. Check out the results yourself, and you will see list of params used by this variant. That's
okay. Yeah, I'm seeing now in the Hangouts window. Okay, if you put your mouse in the test name, it's expected to appear the list of parameters that were available for that test. Okay, next one. Okay, and that's all from the items. Any comments so far, guys?
Nope.
Okay, so we have a lot of work in progress here. Those are big tasks or tasks that are being left for the next sprint, which is starting today. Also, we already prioritized and populated the sprint backlog for the version 51. Those are the items that we find important to be in this release. The current list of features plus what's in work in progress plus what's in the sprint backlog is most of them is what are expected to be present in the LTS release. If you have anything else that you would like to see in this version, you could both talk now or send later an email or message in IRC so we can discuss that. But talking about the work in progress, we have the this is internal change. Or remain silent for eternity. Yeah, that's right. Remove test types that are not real test types. This is internal change. We have some internal.
Yeah, there is already pull requests basically waiting for this. It was part of a different fix.
Nice.
But basically core API, nothing interesting here.
Those marked in light blue, they are about documentation. So guideline for tagging tests. This is to file a bug report against LibrePython. Allow their listing on assets and repo servers. Experiment on functional tests. They are most about experiments and documentation. Also, we have Avocado. Make Avocado tests and Avocado app loggers available in a standardized way. It's work in progress. We have pull requests for it. It's current under review.
Basically, the idea here, it's in progress, like near to be merged. The idea is that the test and app logger is quite frequently used by plugin developers or everywhere in Avocado, and it requires hidden knowledge. So to avoid this hidden knowledge and to allow us to improve it or change the location, I'm basically putting the loggers in a standardized location, which is Avocado core output. So when we change the location, for example, it will still be in Avocado core output. So this is not public API, but for plugin writers who are already using core API, this will be the standard location for next probably years or so.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. VT Bootstrap also create host architecture info. This is work in progress. Is this still work in progress?
Yes, there is a V3 pull request, and it seems to be acted by Zoo, who is the TPQMU maintainer, and also Avocado VT maintainer. So since we're on different time zone, this may get merged within 10 hours or so.
Okay, host values in Cartesian config.
Yeah, it's also part of the same pull request.
Rated.
Yeah, also part of the same one. Yeah.
Also work in progress. Display loader failures in Avocado list variables. Point here is that when some loader plugin fails to load some test that's provided as a test reference, we want it to be more verbose and provide better information for the user. So it's still work in progress, but no pull request in place. We expect this to be present in the next release. Minor change, indentation in spec file, work in progress, because it has to be in sync with the spec files that are used to generate the
downstream is about to include it, and then we'll sync in upstream.
Add make requirements plugin.
Yeah, so I'll take over this card. So let me go ahead and add myself to it as well. And I'll send another version of the current pull request.
Okay, multiple machine support for tests and job API, both work in progress, both with Clever.
Yeah, expect work on the multiple machine support for tests. I mean, updates on that. What I'm working on is a V2 and also kind of a proof of concept, at least the basic interface is proposed there. So expect to see updates on that. Job API, it's like a Epic card, so it doesn't have any update.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all from work in progress. We, as I said before, we already prioritized and populated the sprint backlog. We have a bunch of items here. Do you guys have anything that you would like to see in this version as the last version to introduce features before the next LTS?
You can always make yourself heard on the mailing list or RC channels. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is pretty much what we came up during the prioritization. And yeah, this is pretty much it. Yeah, I think that's all. Do you guys have anything else that you want to talk about?
We need a name for the release, right? I'm giving it a name.
Yeah, White Mountains.
Yeah. I'll provide some info, some interesting info later.
Yes.
I guess that's it when it comes to naming. Expect the release later today. We have one pull request that contains a bug fix to be included yet.
Sorry. Go
And
on.
I think the self tests as well, right? The manual test, the release test.
Yes, I was about to say we are a little bit late in the test plan because we're still with one pending pull request and this bug fix that was an issue that came up earlier today. But still, I think we are in a good shape and you can expect a new release in 1 or maybe 2 days.
Before we finish, we should go through the backlog to maybe one by one to say what are we going to work on.
Do you mean the sprint backlog?
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
do you want to introduce the items so people know what are you working on?
Sure, no problem. So from bottom to top, we have run tear down almost always when setup was executed. This is, again, internal change, but you can expect some change of behavior for users because right now, when something goes wrong in the setup phase or in the test method phase, the tear down method is not executed, and we want to change that behavior. So if something bad happens, if the test crashes or something like that during the setup or during the test method, still we want to run the tear down. So we saw some case where users are dealing with that during the setup, like using a try except block of code in the setup itself, and that would not be needed anymore after this change. So we want to work on this before the next release.
Yeah, but this is really important change. So if you disagree with this, feel free to follow up the discussion on Avocado Devel. But from the discussion, it looks like more people are preferring this way. Basically, it allows writing easier setup classes because you just set up something, and even when setup or test fails, you get to the teardown. So you need to change this like the mindset while writing the teardowns, because in teardown the setup may not be completed. after this card is implemented. Right now, you have the guarantee that setup was executed full. And after this card, the setup may be interrupted and you may be dealing with unset variables, etc. But in the end, the setup can be easier because you just set everything and don't care whether it fails or not. So yeah, it's like a trade-off. So
Okay, next one is be lenient with test references. The point of this card is that sometimes you can provide a list of test references that includes tests that are not present or that are not tests actually, or something that cannot be loaded by the Avocado resolver as a test. And when that happens currently, the job will not be created. So the intention of this card is to be more lenient with that. So if you have test references that are not being resolved for a test, still we will run the test that can be resolved. So we had some suggestions here on how to implement these, like provide an option like skip missing. So we would mark the bad tests as skipped. But from the last meeting, we kind of almost agreed that this would be the better approach, like provide a list of test references, provide some new option that will not be this one, of course, but this is intentionally ugly to be changed later. But the approach here would be to run only the test that was actually resolved for something, and the test that doesn't exist or cannot be resolved will just provide some message, some feedback for the user, but it will not represent an actual test here in the test list. So it's not skipped or errored, it's just not able to be resolved. So this is probably the behavior that will be proposed for this feature.
once again, it won't be the default. It will be a new option.
Yeah.
And again, feel free to comment on that if you have different preferences.
Make YAML to Mux optional plugin. Again, our organization, so this code should be moved to optional plugin so we can provide that as a different package, and it can be installed or not, and it will be something that behaves just like the other optional plugins that we have. Inherit test methods from parents. Right now, if you inherit the class from another class that contains tests, we will only consider the tests that are present in the child class, but this card is requesting us to also consider the tests that are present in the parent class. Add a way to run full suite per variant instead of all variants of each test. It's about the internal logics on running the tests that are created out of the variants. We have the current behavior where we run all the variants for each test, and then we go to the next test to run all the variants for the next test. And with this extra option, you would be able to run all the variants for the same test, so they would be organized together in the order of execution. Loader add native Python unit test support. Right now we have a contrib script that can discover the tests that are written using the Python unity test, and this script will feed Avocado with the information required to run those tests. And this card is requesting us to support the Python unit test as a native kind of test for Avocado. So the Avocado loader would discover those tests without any external help. This is a long-term card. Some Avocado test methods and attributes are public. We had a lot of improvements in this area already, but still we have to deal with some test methods and attributes that are still there, like publicly available. So the card's still here, so we don't lose the track of it. Test data directory should include the variant ID. So when we create a directory for the tests, the fact that we are not creating the data directory considering the variant ID in the name will not allow us to have a more deep level of granularity, so we can differentiate the data directory per variants and not only per tests. Store job data as data and not data plus code. Right now we have some artifacts from the job that are recorded, serialized, and the intention of this card is to change that so we can record the information in data format that can be more compatible in eventual change in the future. So the main point of this card is about the multiplex tree that right now it's being recorded, pickled, and the intention is to record that in the YAML format. This will for sure improve the retro compatibility in the future. A bug, make clean, does not clean, optional plugins, X. This is related to the make command. Bugs have high priority, so it's here in the top. And another bug, configuration from Avocado, overrides Cartesian config. Also, it's Avocado VT, but it's a bug, so high priority here. Okay, so this is pretty much what's in the Sprint backlog for the next version 51. Do you guys have any comments? Okay, so that's pretty much it. As we said before, we are in a good shape to release this version anytime soon. I will finish running the test plan right after we have this last bug fix that is already there in GitHub. And so you can expect a new version in probably 1 or maybe 2 days. And that's all from my side. If you have any comments, that's your last opportunity. Okay, guys, so thank you. That's all from me. Have a nice week ahead.
Thanks a lot, Amador. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Amador.
Bye-bye.